Prepare to unleash your darkest fears with Prime Video's top 10 brutal horror movies. From heart-pounding scares to twisted tales of terror, these disturbing selections will haunt your dreams. Number 10, Alien Code.
This recent discovery wasn't our first encounter with interdimensional being. It's wonderful.
Alex Jacobs, a talented but troubled cryptographer, accepts a mysterious job offer from a shadowy organization named Arist to decrypt an encoded satellite message that seems to come from beyond Earth. Upon his return home one night, he is confronted with a startling sight, a dead body that turns out to be himself. A USB stick contains a recording of his own future, warning, "Watch me." As Alex digs deeper, he teams up with cryptographer Beth Carter and a contact named Miles. What begins as a cryptic puzzle morphs into a dangerous journey through alien conspiracies, government cover-ups, and impossible tech. Alien Code is a sci-fi horror thriller that uses temporal paradoxes, distrust, and eerie duplicity to unsettle the line between reality and perception. Number 9, See For Me.
It's me, Sophie. There's people in the house. They're looking for me.
Just stay calm. And on my mark, fire!
Sophie Scott, once a competitive downhill skier, has her life shattered by a degenerative eye disease that steals her vision and her dreams. Needing money, she takes on a job house-sitting a remote mansion she plans to burglarize on the side, only to lock herself out and be forced to use a smartphone app called See For Me, an app that connects visually impaired users to sighted helpers via video call. That helper is Kelly, a seasoned gamer and former soldier who guides Sophie back inside. When 3 thieves break into the house that night intent on cracking open a hidden safe, Sophie must navigate darkness, danger, and her own moral ambiguity, and rely on Kelly's voice and wits to survive. The film is a tense home invasion thriller that reimagines fear not just in what we see, but what we can't, and what we must trust. Number 8, Candyman.
New to the neighborhood.
You should say it.
Candyman.
Say his name.
Candyman!
Anthony McCoy is a visual artist in Chicago struggling with creative block while living with his girlfriend, Brianna Cartwright. When Anthony becomes intrigued by the local legend of the Candyman, an entity said to be summoned by speaking his name 5 times in a mirror, he ventures into Cabrini Green, the site of the old housing projects, now gentrified. As he digs into this haunting folklore, unsettling visions, disturbing murders, and the weight of racial violence entwine with his art. Anthony's obsession deepens, blurring the borders between myth, memory, and reality, pulling Brianna into a nightmarish reckoning with the past. Candyman updates the classic horror tale with echoes of social injustice, creative ambition, and spectral vengeance rooted in history. Number 7, Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Very good.
Set deep within the secluded Arborea Institute in 1983, Beyond the Black Rainbow follows Elena, a young woman with powerful telepathic abilities held captive inside a sterile, futuristic facility under the watch of Dr. Barry Nile. She spends her days in tightly controlled therapy sessions, sedated and isolated, while Nile, haunted by past experiments and obsessed with control, suppresses her brilliance with strange technology, psychotropic drugs, and a glowing pyramid device. As Elena's silent suffering intensifies, she begins to reach beyond her confinement. Through psychic visions, escapes into the maze-like corridors of the Institute, and increasingly surreal encounters. Number 6, Censor.
You'd be surprised what the human brain can edit out when it can't handle the truth.
Someone's losing the plot.
Enid Baines works as a film censor in mid-1980s Britain during the panic over video nasties and notes terrifying horror movies that are being blamed for corrupting minds and inciting real violence. Devoted to her work, Enid lives haunted by the childhood disappearance of her sister Nina, whose fate remains a murky trauma her parents have officially given up on. When Enid is sent a disturbing film to review, one whose imagery echoes her lost memories, she becomes obsessed with tracking down its director, Frederick North, and the lead actress, Alice Lee, believing she may finally be closing in on her sister's ghost. Reality and fantasy begin to blur as Enid's investigation pulls her deep into guilt, hallucination, and grief, until she can no longer tell which horrors are on screen and which are within her mind. Number 5. Daniel isn't real.
Daniel is simply an aspect of your mind. He's taking over, making me do things that I don't want to do.
Luke Nightingale is a troubled young man whose scars go back to childhood trauma and a mother whose mental illness looms over every waking moment. As a kid, he had an imaginary friend named Daniel, charming, intense, and full of wild energy, who ultimately pushed things too far and was locked away in his mother's old dollhouse. Years later, insecure and fearful he's becoming like her, Luke releases Daniel once more, and at first Daniel seems like the answer, boosting Luke's confidence, helping him with school, even spurring a romance. But Daniel's help is always conditional. His influence turns dark, aggressive, and controlling as he begins to act out of Luke's body and life. Number 4. Rent a Pal.
You've taken everything from me! Andy! I need Rent a Pal!
That's why I'm here for you, pal.
David Brower is a lonely bachelor in 1990, burdened with caring for his elderly mother, Lucille, who suffers from dementia. Hungry for connection and worn down by repeated rejections via a video dating service, he stumbles upon a bargain bin VHS tape called Rent a Pal, starring Andy, a friendly host who seems to speak directly to the viewer. As David brings Andy into his isolated routines, talking, drinking, even sharing secrets, the tape becomes his surrogate friend. But as hope blooms in the form of Lisa, a caring hospice worker who might finally be more than a tape, Andy's presence turns demanding, possessive, and increasingly unstable. The film is a psychological horror built on despair, loneliness, and the terrifying ways a comfort can become compulsion, where the scariest monsters are the ones we let into our homes. Number 3. The Collector. Arkin O'Brien, an ex-con handyman desperate to settle his debts, decides to rob the wealthy family whose house he's been working at. But when he breaks in, he discovers someone far more sinister has beaten him to it. A masked figure who's turned the family home into a maze of lethal traps and captured the family inside. With every room comes a new danger: tripwires, bear traps, razor-lined halls, and horrors that reveal themselves one dark corner at a time. As Arkin swings between burglar and rescuer, he's forced to confront whether he can save the family and himself without becoming just as trapped. The Collector is a bone-crunching home invasion horror piece where terror is not in what you see first, but what you discover once the lights flicker. Number 2. Overlord.
Why'd you go?
A squad of American paratroopers is dropped behind enemy lines on the eve of D-Day to knock out a German radio jamming tower concealed in an old French church. When their plane is shot down, the few survivors, led by Corporal Ford and Private Boyce, team up with a French villager named Chloe and her young brother, seeking refuge from both Nazi patrols and worse horrors still. Beneath the church lies a secret laboratory where experiments are being conducted on civilians, infecting them with a serum that warps both body and mind. As the fight becomes a battle for survival, Boyce must push beyond the limits of fear, betrayal, and mutation to disable the evil machinery and save lives. Overlord is a war horror that fuses brutal combat with grotesque supernatural terror, offering tension, gore, and the unsettling suggestion that in war, the real monsters aren't always human. Number 1. Manhunter.
This is what the subject's teeth look like.
Retired FBI profiler Will Graham is pulled back into the darkness when his former boss, Jack Crawford, needs him to track down a new, elusive serial killer known by the press as the Tooth Fairy. As the bodies pile up, each crime scene reveals chilling clues, and Graham is forced to rely on insight from the imprisoned Dr. Hannibal Lecter, the very man who once nearly destroyed him. Alongside this hunt, a blind woman named Reba McClane becomes an unexpected figure in the killer's orbit, her kindness and vulnerability offering him something dangerous: hope. Directed by Michael Mann, Manhunter is a polished, atmospheric cat-and-mouse horror thriller that blends forensics, obsession, and identity. Here are 4 other movies you have to see. Wrong Turn. A hiking trip in the Appalachian Mountains turns deadly when a group of friends encounters a hidden community with brutal traditions. Separated and hunted, they must decide who they can trust and what horrors they're willing to face to survive. Civilization feels a long way off when the rules no longer apply. Meander.
Mama.
A woman wakes inside a maze-like tunnel filled with deadly traps and glowing passageways. As she crawls forward with no memory and only a digital countdown to guide her, survival becomes her only goal. But the path forward reveals more than physical danger. It exposes emotional scars buried deep inside. The Ninth Gate.
Of what you are about to witness.
A rare book dealer is hired to authenticate a demonic manuscript rumored to summon the devil himself. His search leads him across Europe through cults, cryptic clues, and supernatural omens. As obsession replaces logic, the truth behind the book threatens to consume his soul. Tourist trap. A group of friends finds shelter at a strange roadside attraction filled with lifelike mannequins. But the owner harbors dark secrets, and the mannequins might not be as still as they seem. As the night unfolds, they're drawn into a surreal, deadly trap where escape is anything but certain.